Welcome to DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn, a celebration of hunting, fishing, wildlife conservation, and the outdoor lifestyle. Brought to you in partnership with DSC, Conservation, Education, and Advocacy. Hornady, accurate, deadly, and dependable. Taurus, makers of award-winning pistols and revolvers. Stealth Vision, high-tech precision hunting optics for today's hunter. Agara Cafe, elevated coffee, elevated life. Dispatch Hunts, your premier hunt advisor. Choctaw Hunting Lodge, for some of the best hunting in North America. And Double Nickel Taxidermy, preserving your memories.
Welcome to the first of what I hope will be many episodes where we actually do it in video form, talking about my DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn podcast. We're into about our 6th year, or at least maybe headed into the 7th year now since we started that thing. It's been a weekly podcast in an audio version only up to this point. Not going to do away with the audio version. It's going to be every week like it has been in the past, but maybe kind of as a bonus, if you will. We're going to try to throw in maybe a few videos as well too. Most of the time it's going to be in the field rather than me just sitting talking. I'm not big on just simply talking heads unless there's something really that needs to be said that's important. And I kind of look at that this way this time, if you will, to tell you a little bit about the video series that we're going to be doing. It won't be a regular one, won't be a weekly. There may be some months where there's one, there may be some where there are 3 or 4. It really kind of depends upon where we're hunting, what we're hunting, where we're fishing, what we're fishing, maybe some of the conservation things that are going on, maybe even taking you to some of the conventions such as the DSC convention or Texas Wildlife Association and showing you what's going on there. I thought about all this for a long time before we decided to do the video side of things, because I see so many different podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Most of the time when I'm listening to them, I'm traveling somewhere long distance. It seems like anywhere I go hunting these days, even if it's relatively local, it's a 3 to 4 hour drive. But that kind of goes by pretty quickly when you're listening to a good podcast, something that you're really interested in. So today we're going to talk a little bit about this video thing. As I said, what I want to do is, I'm not big on talking heads, as I mentioned, or people sitting around with a microphone in their face or a set of earphones on so that everybody can hear what everybody else is saying. But I really like the in the field thing. That comes from doing about, 40 years of outdoor television. The last show I had was Trailing the Hunter's Moon. Actually, DSC's Trailing the Hunter's Moon. And I gave that show away to the cameraman that worked for me for a long, long time so that I could concentrate on a few other things, such as the podcast. And I have to tell you, too, I now do a weekly radio show. Have done that actually for years, for about 20 years now, plus 20 years with Luke Layton, turning that into a podcast as well, too, that you can listen to almost anywhere else that you hear podcasts, just like you can with my DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn. But it's called Catfish Radio with Luke Clayton, and Luke and I always have the first segment, and then he goes to a bunch of other guests as well too. And a few years ago, after I left the regular world of outdoor television, I started doing a show with Luke Clayton and Jeff Rice called The Sportsman's Life, that's on Carbon TV. You can also find it on our YouTube channel, same name, and it is real world outdoors. We go hunting and we don't take anything. That's what we show, but we try to tell you maybe why we didn't take anything. Or if we take something, you'll see it happen, and then so very often you get to see us cooking it as well too. Same thing with fishing, but we try to cover a lot of different things there. And it is a weekly show. Years ago when I did traditional outdoor television, I would go on a hunt, say this fall, Well, it would be next fall before you got to see it. And then if you had a chance to go hunting there, it would be almost 2 years hence. Now, a lot of things can happen in 2 years, as you guys are well aware of. I mean, there can be droughts, there can be all kinds of different changes in the outfitter that you hunted with or that you fished with. So with this, though, if we go out and we go hunt, you're going to get to see it the following week. I just completed not very long ago a hunt for roe deer in 3 nations with the Scandinavian Pro Hunters. And guess what? The week after I got back, that show was where everybody could see it. So you could see what was going on at the time. And that to me is the beauty of a sportsman's life. It's not a very, shall I say, highly produced show. We show what actually happens, and that's kind of what I want to do with this particular podcast episode of DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn. And we're brought to you by a bunch of great people. One of the people that were companies that were with, if you will, are associations. I've been involved with a group called Dallas Safari Club, DSC, if you will, since 1987. For the longest time, excuse me, I served as an ambassador, still do. I am the DSC ambassador, which allows me to do a lot of different things to promote DSC. Life member, right there, DSC life member. If you're not a member of DSC and you love the outdoors, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference whether you hunt, you fish, or you just like the outdoors, let me suggest that you go become a member. Then there's all kinds of chapter opportunities across North America these days as well. But if you want to learn more about all those, you can go to www.biggame.org, and that's biggame.org for DSC. A little bit later on, we're going to take you to the DSC Summer Expo. That'll be in July. It'll probably appear not very long after you see this. Take you there and let you see kind of what's going on and some of the things that some of the DSC members and our guys here or there with their exhibitors, what they're up to and what's going on there. May do the same thing a little bit with the Texas Wildlife Association. The Texas Wildlife Association, I started with friends of mine back in 1985. So 2026 is our 41st anniversary, if you will, or 41st convention of great things. Among other things, we helped form the Texas Youth Hunting Group, and over the years we've taken about 50,000 kids hunting, and each one of those needed to have a parent or a guardian with him as well too. So you think about that. We've influenced 100,000 people in those years just with those individuals. Will all of them hunt in the future? Probably not, but you know what? Now they've got an understanding as to how important hunting is and everything that goes on when it comes to wildlife and habitat. So those are the kind of things we're going to cover a little bit as well too. Of course, Hornady is a sponsor and a major sponsor and has been for many years. I've had the pleasure of knowing Steve Hornady and Jason since before Jason was with Hornady, back when he was a rep for Duncan Lewis, repping Hornady, but also repping Thompson Center Arms back when I was with them back in the 90s, 1990s, should I say. So many different things that we're going to be trying to cover. There's so many different products out there. We'll do a little bit of product stuff, but most of the time when we're doing product stuff, it will be relative to what we're doing in terms of hunting or shooting. Now, you'll see that there's a bunch of other great sponsors that we have, such as Stealth Vision and Taurus and Agara Coffee, which I absolutely love and depend upon in so many different ways. It's what's in this cup right here. So, but also lots of other great companies that we work with, and you'll see those being utilized in the past, such as doing something with Gary Robertson with the Burnham Brothers game calls and their freak call that's out of this world, and their new product that they're coming out with as well too, called Wraith. Now, I've had some experiences with this when it first came out before Gary got a hold of it, and so glad that Gary did, because it is one of those phenomenal products that you'll learn a little bit more about here and on the podcast, the auto version as well too. While we're here today, I want to take you a little bit. We're in my office, and be honest with you, I don't bring too many people in my office, but I've got a couple of things in here I want to show you, tell you a little bit about some of the mounts that I have that were done for me by double nickel taxidermy, the finest taxidermists there are in the world when you get right down to it, based on a lot of years looking at taxidermy work, but also as a professional wildlife biologist and a hunter who has traveled the world looking at real animals. These guys do an absolutely fantastic job. So, we're going to probably bring John on. John Wilson started that thing being double nickel taxidermy a bunch of years ago, and trying to do a little something with him and have him tell you some of the things that you need to do here on the podcast, on the video podcast, about all those kind of things that you need to do, again, to have a quality mount that lasts for a long time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with you. I want to tell you a little bit about some of the other products that were brought to you by, and when we come back, we'll go looking at some of these things here in this office. Y'all stay tuned.
DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn is also brought to you by these great partners. Texas Wildlife Association, land, water, wildlife, and people. Burnham Brothers Game Calls. Red 55 wines from Emmy Award-winning entertainer Miranda Lambert, owned by Rick and Beverly Lambert. A Sportsman's Life, Real World Outdoors on Carbon TV. And LarryWeishuhn.net.
Told you we'd come back and have a look at some of the things in my office. And enough said, very few people get to come back in here. What we're looking at there, my rattling horns, they're about 40 years old, and I have lost count of the number of animals, particularly whitetail bucks. Those things are rattled up. Member of several different organizations, and a few years ago I got to be one of the shooters on the Landers one-shot antelope hunt. Of course, a member of the Mule Deer Foundation Life member, same thing with DSC, HSC, NRA, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of them, Texas Wildlife Association, and a few others. I always have enjoyed picking up arrowheads, and these days, pretty much when I pick some up, I put them right back where I found them. I always loved hunting hogs. We're fortunate and blessed in so many different ways that we do have a lot of wild hogs in Texas. As you can see, I really like books. I've collected books for a long time, and this is just a small portion of the number of books. Photograph there of my first, oh my gosh, that's the first Cape buffalo I shot on the South Conservancy over, years ago with a single shot 416 Rigby. These are the books that I've written. Some of them. I've written about 11, 12, or 13. I've lost track. I've been involved in a lot of other chapter writing things as well, too. And if you look up here, this is kind of my European wall, if you will. And got the ibex there from Spain and a roe deer from Spain. A mouflon from Austria, and right next to it is my that is a European ibex that I shot in Austria as well, too. And the one up there on the top corner is a Trans-Caspian Ural that I shot on a high fence place here in Texas. And looking back over this way, there's a tar and a chamois. Tar is from New Zealand, and the chamois is from Austria. Got a little Carmen Mountain whitetail there, and if you look very closely, you can see his antlers actually cross, the main beams do. Got a Texas mule deer right here that I shot with a friend of mine, and then up above it is a mule deer I shot in eastern. I shot that one with Craig Archer up in the lower panhandle of Texas. That mule deer is a little bit better than what he appears to be. He's about a 190 class deer that I shot with Richard Petrini over on the eastern side of Colorado. One fish in here, that was one I caught with Richard Petrini years ago. Bridger's dad is a native cutthroat. And what you're looking at right there, too, is a reindeer from the Grand Country of Norway. Shot that a few years ago. Absolutely a beautiful, big, wide head. Going back down here a little bit, I had Marshall Allen Bailey do a painting for me. It's kind of a caricature some of my dear friends around a campfire, and if you look very closely, we've got Wayne Fears, Jim Zumbo, me with a white beard, Rick Lambert, and of course Luke Clayton as well too. Spent a lot of time around a campfire with those guys and loved every moment of it. Got my little, well, it's a mountain stag from Scotland, and then if you look right there too, there's a model 1895 Winchester. It is stamped being a 30 government /6. Got a drop tine right here from it's a Colombian blacktail that came hunting with Linda Powell on the Steinbeck Vineyards. Another Colombian blacktail from up in the very northern part of California. That one just barely missed Boone and Crockett. I think he ended up netting like 120 something or another. Up here is one of my favorite whitetails. This buck, I hunted several years there in Iowa. I used to be able to get a tag in Iowa every year thanks to Tony Knight, back when Tony owned the Knight Rifle muzzleloader company. That particular buck right there is right at 30 inches outside. He's got a 30.5-inch main beam on one side, a 31.5-inch main beam on the other side, and if you'll notice, there's a little drop tine there as well too. So it kind of comes off on the side over there. Love those drop tines. Some of the animals that I've taken, a leopard. There's a Namibian elephant that was shot for the villages. Same thing with the hippo there, a lion, and then my biggest buffalo I shot just outside of Kruger a few years ago. We'll tell stories about those a little bit later on. Back here in the back, if I can get to it, if you look real close, right there in the center, that's the first magazine article I sold to a national publication and had the cover back in 1970 or so. Painting I did when the doctors told me to settle down up here, and then the pointing of the gun, that came from back when it was lock, stock, and barrel, the column I wrote for Shooting Times, a trophy that I won from our Los Cazadores. We owned Los Cazadores for several years, and happened to be the best, not a best typical taken that year across North America. I think he ended up netting, or entered, shall I say, but it entered, I think he scored netted 197. Got a mule deer there as well too. This happened to be shot with a 44 mag handgun. It was about a 187 or so altogether, and desert mule deer from New Mexico. Got a deer came off of my place that we've owned since my family's had it since the 1850s. Above there is a Sitka blacktail. That is one of the most beautiful of all the deer species as far as I'm concerned. My diploma, just to prove to you that I did actually go to Texas A&M University and graduated from there. Next to it is I had the opportunity to speak to the Jack O'Connor Hunting Heritage Center. Absolutely fantastic. My first Coues deer taken with the El Campo bunch in Sonora, right on the Chihuahua border. There's what would be a Boone and Crockett, if I ever had it officially scored, Texas pronghorn antelope. That antelope may not look it right there, but he's right at 17, if not longer. This happens to be a Coues deer that I shot in Durango. One of my favorite hunts for hunting Coues deer. One up there on the top, that's the best and the most important one in here. That little spike is the first animal I shot. First deer I shot back in 1961. I'll tell you the story about it sometime. Another painting that I did back when the doctors told me I had to slow down, which I didn't really like doing. Spanish roe deer, Setatunga, stand buck, two different types of bush buck and a little Valray buck. And then cover of one of the animals that I shot years ago, and then back in 2007, I was inducted into the Legends of the Outdoor National Hall of Fame, which I'm very proud of. So, quick tour of the office here. Absolutely. Going to show you one of my brown hats, one of the things I really enjoy wearing, kind of an old friend. And we'll come back to that one in just a little bit. Hope you enjoy that little tour around my office. As I said, not too many people get to come in here. And used to have a big office, now it's small. Most of my mounts are actually at the Shield store north of Dallas, there at the Colony. And if you go by there, you can see a lot of the animals that I've taken over the years. They have my name on them, so I get tickled with the number of people that will send me a text with the photograph. You never guess where I am. Well, when I see the mounts, I know exactly where they are. But so I hope you enjoyed our little tour here. We'll come back and talk about some of these animals. There's a bunch of them here. There's quite a story to them when you get right down to it. Years ago, I wore silver billy hats. That means they were light colored, and I'm talking about during the time frame when I was growing up. But when I really started writing seriously back in about the 1970s, I had people come to me and say, "Oh, Larry, you can't shoot any of those really big deer wearing that white hat, that bright hat." And I go, "Yeah, well, maybe I already had at that point." But I kind of took their advice. And, I've always loved Western hats, always worn them. And finally I ended up, I said, you know what? Okay, I don't want a black hat. It's too hot, but I'll get a brown hat. And I was able to pick up a brown hat on the way to Colorado years ago on a mule deer hunt up there, and been wearing brown hats ever since then, kind of with a modified Gus crease, if you will. So it slopes down this way. I've been wearing these hats for a long time now, since about the like I said, at least 40, 45 years. So got a bunch of them. They're all old friends. This one happens to be one of my favorites. I've worn this one around the world numerous times. If you look very closely, you can see there is a Dallas Safari Club life member pin there, and it's on all my hats. I am very proudly a member of DSC. BigGame.org. Join today if you're not already there. But love the brown hats. You notice too, a lot of them will have or most of them, I guess, do have a horsehair hat band. Used to spend a lot of time down on the King Ranch down in lower Texas area, and the Cowboys down there did those, and I have a bunch of them from there. And then I found a few of them as well too at an Indian reservation there in New Mexico. So almost always have the horsehair hat band on one of my brown hats. Kind of become a trademark, if you will, kind of like the red neckerchief or the neckerchiefs have over the years as well too. So very proud of the fact that I've now had this podcast for about 6 years, been involved in the outdoors for a lifetime, for hunting over 70 years. So learned a lot of things to do, and learned a lot of things not to do again as well too. That's some of the things, as I mentioned, we're going to cover in this video podcast, taking you with us out in the field. You're not going to see very many talking heads in the future like you have in this one. So not going to have any earphones on or speaking into a microphone. You'll be almost like being on a trying to put you right there with me around the campfire. And we will have some campfire discussions, and that's where you might be able to see a talking head or two if that's what you're interested in. But this video podcast is going to be available through Carbon TV, also on a YouTube channel that I have. And we're looking at setting up another YouTube channel. And I got to look at all these things to make sure I get it right. But there's a YouTube channel that's called Campfires with Larry Weishuhn. It's got all my audio versions there, or at least going back a few years. You can find the audio versions on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, iHeart Podcast, almost anywhere that you can find an audio version of a podcast. But you can also listen to it on that particular YouTube channel if you wish, or going to carbontv.com, or going to the many other places such as outdooraction.com as well too. But we're going to see about getting this on probably 3 or 4 of those, and particularly on the YouTube channel, the Campfires with Larry Weishuhn, but we're also going to be setting up another one as well too. Now too, I've got a Patreon site as well. If you want to go there as well, there's a little bit extra stuff there all the time, and that's patreon.com/capital M, small r, capital W, small WHITETAIL. That's patreon.com/capital M, little r, capital W, then smaller case HITETAIL. And all those are so many different places that I'm available to you. Facebook, if you want to go there. I've got an Instagram account as well, too. Got a LinkedIn account as well. All those are basically just Larry Weishuhn. Now, I do a lot of writing as well, too. And if you want to learn about some of those or read a lot of the blogs that I do, along with where you can buy my books, where you can learn about the knives that I do, a whole lot of other different things, access our Sports with Life TV show as well, too. You can do that by going to www.larryweishuhn.net. It's LarryWeishuhn.net. Of course, all run together, all lowercase. So really want to thank you for joining me today. Look forward to bringing you many more of these from actually out in the field. So thank all the great sponsors. Visit them, become a member of DSC. Utilize those sponsors because, frankly, they're the best. If they weren't, I wouldn't have anything to do with them. Look forward to catching up with you around this campfire, the video portion of DSC's Campfires with Larry Weishuhn, for too very long. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for joining us around the campfire. Please join Larry and his guests next week as they again gather around the DSC campfire.